It's time for the View in Your Mirror podcast. I'm Katie Harms, and along with Lisa Rubin, we help you check in and curate the best possible you and the best view in your mirror. We share tips, tricks, and strategies from our 35 plus years in our respective industries. We talk about your day from morning to night and everything in between. We share our uniqueness, relish in our shared experiences. Along the way, we share conversation with fabulous people who give us their own thought-provoking insights. So come along as we help you hone the best view in your mirror. Oh, Lisa Rubin.
Good morning, Katie.
You went to Rustica.
I did, Katie. I got the grilled Rachel. And it was so good. It was delicious.
Okay. Can we make a date to go down to Minneapolis?
Yes, we can do that, Katie.
Okay. We will definitely, we need to.
Do they have a grilled Rachel there? I gotta look.
Yes, they have it. They have it on all their menus. I have now looked. Rusticabakery.com for those of you who are craving a Rachel or a matcha or anything that's incredible from Rustica Bakery. So I think the greatest way to start out today is Lisa Rubin, everyone, my podcast partner, the most incredible wardrobe consultant, my friend, my yin to my yang, or my yang to my yin. I mean, literally, she keeps me in line.
And then my Katie, my sweet, dear, fabulous, wonderful Katie, who does many things. She does many things, but what she does, a few of the things that she does well, because when you decide to do something, you do it well.
Well, thank you.
Or when you decide quickly to do something, you still do it well. You know, you are a space planner. You are incredible at it. I just actually gave you another client to work on a project with. And you're a fascinating and fabulous writer, which is one of the reasons in the very, very, very beginning, before we even did a podcast, is I went to you because I thought I wanted to write a book about my experiences being a wardrobe consultant. And you said, let's start a podcast. And I flipped out, had a tantrum, like went crazy. And then 2 years later, COVID hit, and
here we are. And
guess what? You were right. You were right.
Interestingly, you talk about writing because I am playing with writing again. I mean,
I know you are.
I'm playing with writing again, but I want to tell you about our guest in a way that I tell a friend about somebody I've been watching from across the room, which is not like me to watch from across the room. But let's just say it's a really crowded room and I couldn't get to this person until now. She's really been building, and everything she makes created conditions for the next, which, you know, I want to understand how this person thinks like this. So she's an Emmy Award-winning cookbook author, a radio host, a podcaster, a novelist, someone who believes food is how we understand everything that matters. And we're going to bring her in a little bit. But first, I want to get back. And Stephanie Hansen is who we're having on. And I'm just super excited because I've watched her and followed her and known people who know her, and they just think she's terrific. And so it's fun to finally have this opportunity. So you recently experienced something that happens when you turn a certain age.
Yes, I guess you are going to talk about this, aren't you? Yes. So I called you because a few days ago, I received my Medicare card in the mail.
Woohoo!
And a lot of people might be excited about that. I found it to be weird, strange. Like I didn't know how to feel about it, right? Because I said to you, in our lifetime, certain things come in the mail that are important. Like your Social Security card way back when, right? Now, I don't know if it's digital and it doesn't come in the mail. I don't know. But mine came in the mail as a child, right? The next thing I remember that is very important that came in the mail was my driver's license. That was exciting. I didn't really like my picture, but that was exciting. Right?
And thus began the lifetime of not liking driver's license pictures.
But then after our driver's license, like I don't remember anything that significant that comes in the mail that reaches like a period in your life, right?
Maybe your wedding.
Oh, my wedding invitation?
No, not the invitation, your wedding license. Doesn't that come?
I don't remember if it came in the mail, but okay, let's give it that. True. But I mean, like the invitation, like you designed the invitation, like,
Right.
but the next thing would be your Medicare cards, right?
Yeah.
They come in
Any
the
new
mail.
driver, I suppose any new driver's license, but that's
But
old
that's
hat. Once
already
you get
done.
it,
That's still
once
a
you get
moment
it, that's
in time.
true.
Like that's just a renewal.
Yeah.
Like your passport, that is something that you need if you're traveling. I'm saying things
This
that
is something new and
you
like,
have,
yeah.
right,
Yep.
something new.
Hmm.
And it was Medicare. And then I guess the fourth thing would probably be you're not going to receive it, but your family is your death certificate, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of morbid. So we're not going to go there. But anyway,
What?
I was like, wow, it's my Medicare card. Am I really that old?
Well,
Like,
let's just before we leave it completely, let's hope and pray that the next phase that you spoke about with the death certificate is so many years from now.
I hope so.
We'll be sitting on the porch, post rocker in our purple.
I don't like purple.
Oh, damn it. What are we're gonna have to reinvent that?
Yeah, I know.
Black. Can we just be sitting in our black because we both love that?
Black cream. Yeah, black cream.
Well, all right.
I'm not.
Well,
I hope I'm not on a rocker. I hope I'm that woman like that found on Instagram who's 80 years old and lifts more weight than 20-year-olds
mhm.
and started in her 70s.
See, there's time for me. I have 6 more years. 6? Holy crap, no. I have 3.5 more years to
To decide if you're going to work out.
decide if I'm gonna lift the weights or not.
Hey, you've had that moment. It's come and gone, and it was just one of those times. And I
Yeah,
have to call and tell you.
and I wanna tell you something, it was confusing, and filling
Oh,
out the paperwork and online and going through that whole was
I
really great, and I did it wrong. I mean, admittedly, I did it wrong. I ended up having to go to the Social Security office in Eden Prairie, literally talking to a human who thankfully the line wasn't too long and I was able to get in and get it taken care of. So bravo to you for
Oh,
doing it.
no, my husband, who is very good at all of that, even had difficulty helping me, and it took a long time. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. I love this was one of my favorite parts of the conversation we had yesterday, recounting it is when you said, I don't know how old people do this. And I'm thinking, well, you really only do this when you hit 65, unless you've forgotten to do it. But I mean, what else do we have if we don't have some humor around this
Yeah.
process that everybody goes through? Hopefully we all get to go through this process of aging and hopefully we can bring some light and levity
Well,
to it. And
isn't that why we're doing this podcast, Katie? We're really talking about how we elevate our third chapter and everything about it, from wellness to travel to how we think or how we should think or all of those things. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't feel that age.
no, what age do you
Until I
feel?
saw that card.
What for a moment you did? Well, I feel that age when I occasionally catch myself in a mirror. I mean,
Oh, well, yeah. Listen,
then I'm like, "Oh, okay, I am this number," but otherwise I don't feel a number. I think I will feel eternally in my 40s.
I don't feel my 40s,
What do you feel?
early 50s.
Okay. All right.
Because in my 40s, I still had a lot of struggling stuff that I was working out, probably perimenopause at the time, but I didn't know it.
Well,
And that was my 40s were tough for me personally, not family or not any of that, but just me. So I didn't really love my 40s, but I really liked my 50s.
yeah, and our next guest that we're going to have on after we have on Stephanie Hansen, interestingly, we'll plug her is Dr. Mindy Goldman from MIDI, but she is an OBGYN working in the cancer realm of things. But I think that whole conversation you tapped it talking about menopause and what women went through. And honestly, I will be damned if I allow my children to go through this. At that the knowledge that is out there and the ability and what's happening for women is so amazing. So the aging process will be easier.
I hope so, because I really struggled, and I am very open to that.
Yeah.
But at the time I was struggling, I didn't know what it was, right? I was raising teenage kids. I was still working full time. All those things were happening. But if I would have known what I know now, or if we all would have known what we know, would it have been easier? I hope so.
100% it would have been easier. But somebody has to come first, right?
Yeah.
Somebody has to come first. And unfortunately, they had a lot of this knowledge back when we were going through it. It just wasn't out there mainstream. It wasn't, and it was debunked, right? So when we were going through it 20 years ago, it was debunked by the study, which has now been debunked. So I think the point is in life, there's always going to be somebody that has opportunities because of things that we did that learns from. And, it's my whole life philosophy on bettering the ball, right? And at some point, you stand aside and let somebody else take over and you cheer them on. Happy that there are people now figuring out how to age better.
Yeah.
Right? Strength training is very important for our bones and all that's been shown time and time again. So adding that in is important to me. And all of those things, it's what can you do personally to continue to age better?
Yeah.
I have gotten involved in the philanthropic advisory committee for the healthy aging at the University of Minnesota. There is a new clinic coming in January of 27 that is really going to be changing how medicine is delivered. And I'm very excited to be involved in that because that's important to me. Talking about healthy aging, as we were talking about, 2% delay in the progression of the aging processes increases by 10 million healthy elderly people by 2060, which relates to $7.1 trillion of savings in healthcare costs over the next 50 years.
Wow.
So 1 year of healthy aging gained equals 1 trillion saved in healthcare costs, which means an additional 14 trillion contributed to the economy.
Well, let's hope that committees like yours and these clinics that they're opening, hopefully it will expand across the country.
Exactly. So the Institute on Healthy Aging is a confluence of the Masonic Institute of Biology and Aging and Metabolism, the Division of Geriatrics, and the James and Theo Baustert Clinic on Healthy Aging. So the James and Theo Baustert Clinic on Healthy Aging is what's going to be opening in St. Louis Park in 2027. And really, they're going to be offering care and researching how to offer care, and then using that model to develop state-of-the-art care across the state and beyond.
So are they going to start trying to find people or let people know about it, soon so that we can offer some patients?
Or we can be those patrons.
Like at what age do they want to start?
Right. Well, I think part of the work is already going on, right? Because they're doing this at the University of Minnesota. So that's a great question. I will put it on my list of asking.
I think you should, Katie.
And I'll get back to you on that. I was very honored to be asked to be on this committee. And so just had the first meeting. So you'll hear more about it because this is obviously near and dear to us as the numbers continue to tick up. But now, also somebody whose numbers are ticking up and she's using every bit of time and energy to expand her world. And I'm so excited to bring on and talk to Stephanie Hansen. As I said, an Emmy Award-winning cookbook author, radio host, podcast, novelist, and someone who believes food is how we understand everything that matters. Stephanie Hansen, I'm like a little kid. I'm so excited to have you on. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So, I've followed you for quite a while. I first learned of you on My Talk.
Mhm.
I want to know your origin story, but first of all, does it feel like one career to you or many?
Oh, that's an interesting question. No, my broadcasting career feels like one, and I've had multiple roles within it. I did also and do have an entrepreneurial career, so that feels kind of separate. And I've always done both. So I started out in radio. Actually, I started out in the newspaper business as a salesperson. And that moved into radio as a salesperson. That moved into starting my own business, doing direct mail with my husband as a salesperson. And along the way, I went from selling radio time to getting to be behind the microphone. And that happened about 23 years ago. I was friends of these two women named Lori and Julia, and they had started their own radio show based on my referral. I referred them to the Hubbards, and they ended up doing their afternoon drive show on My Talk 1071. And that show was successful, and they wanted more people like them. And they thought because I was friends with them and I worked at the station already, they were like, hey, we should give you a show. I was like, sure. So they did. So I had a show for a year and a half. And then it didn't work out. They ended up firing her and saying to me, what do you want to do? And I said, I'd like to have a radio show about food. So that was how the radio show started. But all the way along, I had a business. I was building things in the food space. And after 12 years of having the printing and direct mail business, we sold it. And then I was like, okay, I still have this radio show that I've been continuing to do, but what do I do next? And I thought, well, I'm going to have to build out this food thing a little bit more if I want it to be a full-time business. At that point, my husband was going to transition to being a writer. And I figured I'm going to probably have to write a cookbook. I'm going to have to be taken seriously in this space. I can't just keep talking about food. I have to be able to make it too. And I was always a home cook that really liked cooking. When the Food Network started, I was jazzed by it. And so I just started intentionally kind of building this thing over here, all in the food space. When podcasting started, I was the first to jump in. I really loved the broadcasting side of it. I still do. So podcasting, radio, when I was asked to do some television hits with Jason Matheson for his show, I was excited about that. And that kind of grew into having my own show, which is Taste Buds with Stephanie, which kind of went alongside the writing of the books. So I've sort of built this ecosystem of freelance work. I still work solely for myself. I freelance with Hubbard, I freelance with Fox. I published with the Minnesota Historical Society. The latest book, The Moon Tavern, we published independently on our own. So it's been concurrently always both things happening at the same time.
Okay, take me into your kitchen. Not the TV kitchen, but your actual kitchen on a Tuesday night. Like, what's in there and who's in there?
That's funny because on Jason's show, we don't have a kitchen, we have a counter. So for that show, I'm mostly doing things that I can assemble. And I'm thinking about like, okay, what can I do that will be colorful, that I can assemble, that people feel like they can make at home that's aspirational to them. When I'm doing Taste Buds, I'm literally in my real kitchen. We shoot the whole second half of the show in my home. It is my real dishes, my real refrigerator, my dog, my real house. So on a Tuesday night in my kitchen, it would depend. Right now, it's just my husband and I. We're empty nesters. Our daughter lives in St. Paul, and she's sometimes on the show. She's 27. And at that point, usually I've cooked a lot during the week. So my husband has a lot of food allergies. So I do cook a lot for us. On a Tuesday night, I'm probably making, my husband is kind of a meat and potatoes. Everything should have sort of a protein focus. So then I build the meal around that. But a lot of times we're eating things that I'm thinking about or testing for books or thinking about that I want to do on the show. Like today, after this call, I have a meeting, and then I need to create 2 rhubarb recipes to do on Jason's show on Friday. I'll probably do one that's a twist on something I already have, which is a rhubarb syrup. And I'll probably make that into a margarita for him specifically because he really likes margaritas. I'll take that rough jam, we call it, after you've pressed it out to get the syrup, and I'll still have that. So I'll probably make that into something sweet or savory, whether it be a salad dressing or whether it be the base of a cake or potentially muffins, because I have to use that slurry to do something with it.
So you're like a chemist too.
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, so I need to stop for a second. Like being in the kitchen and cooking for me is foreign. I mean, I do it. Like
Yeah.
I always very, 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 very basic. But then when I hear someone like you talk about how you're going to take this rhubarb and then you're going to do this and this and this, like I am so enamored by that because my brain would never work like that. Just like we talked, like we did talk before the podcast about what I do, right? In the clothes, like
Yes.
your brain doesn't work like that. But I'm always so enamored and like, I don't want to use the word jealous. I'm not jealous, but like I wish I could think in those terms because getting dinner ready, even though we're empty nesters and my husband and I eat dinner by ourselves a lot, our daughter and grandchildren live only 3 miles away, so we're with them a lot. But the idea, so this is what I'm trying to say. The idea of taking that book that we want to have, which I have, and opening it up and thinking, I'm going to make this tonight, that is the disconnect.
Is it a habit that you have to form almost? Like you have to start somewhere.
I think
Is it
it's a habit? Like, I wish I could turn around and show you in my cupboard all my books. Like, and I should think about that, right? So should books be out on a counter rather than
It depends. I think that I write books for you. I also write books for my sister. My sister finds no joy in cooking. She does it. She has a family. She believes in the idea of eating whole foods, but she really she doesn't think about it. It doesn't give her joy. She has no creativity spark around it.
I'm your sister.
Yeah. So when I'm writing my books, I'm like trying to think of, okay, or when I'm doing a TV segment, I really try to think of the every person. I have her in my brain, my sister. Like, can she do this? She'll like when she'll read my books, sometimes if I use too fancy a words, like if I say, she's like, I have no idea what that is.
I have to go to ChatGPT and see what that means. Or I call my son, who's a very good cook.
Yeah.
He's like, Mom, really? You don't know what that is? Like some spices, like I didn't even know what those were.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think about that. Like when I'm putting dishes together, I try to use spices that you'll already have. I try to use cheese that you're familiar with. You know, occasionally I'll go off the rails and make something really wow or something different. But I am a very Midwestern, everybody can do it cook. My mom used Betty Crocker's Home and Garden Cookbook. That was what the kind of food she made. I really believe that that food has a space and I can make super fancy dishes, not like super, super fancy, but fancy enough. I like to entertain. I like to do dinner parties. I like to bring people together. I think food is community. I think it's pleasure. I think it's also nourishing, but I want to make it so that people can make it. That's kind
Stephanie.
of what I do.
Stephanie, I've got an idea for you.
Oh no, here we go. Are you ready? God knows what it is.
Betty, Mom, and you need to read it almost like Julia and Julia. You need to redo Betty Crocker through the eyes of your mom, through the eyes of you.
That's funny. It's a good idea.
That's a great, Katie, I love that.
And the fact, should I take this out of the podcast so nobody hears it and steals the idea before you get a chance to do it? Because if you do it, all I want is credit in the book.
No, you don't have to take it out of the podcast because all ideas that are great have been done before and will be done again. And that's sort of how the world works. I mean, let's be honest. I have a great chicken wild rice soup that you can make in the Instant Pot. You can also make it on the stove. You know, Dayton's really, and Byerly's, and all of these folks before us have made beautiful chicken wild rice soups, right? None of us are reinventing the wheel.
No.
We're just creating an environment putting that in a book that feels a certain way, that's packaged a certain way, and delivering it in a way that you feel like you can do it.
That's incredibly helpful. And it brings us right into what you've done because you've done something so beautiful and different, and you've made a leap to fiction. So the Moon Tavern,
Yeah,
I have
here
it.
it is.
I have it ordered. It's coming.
It's
Oh,
It's
and when
so cute.
and it's in Croatia.
Uh-huh.
And did you go there?
Yeah, I've been there 5 times. The first time we went, my husband and I sailed there,
Okay.
and we rented a boat, and we had really very little idea of what to expect. And turns out Croatia is very much like at the sea, very much like Italy would be. It's just across the water there, and it is seafood, and it is home cooking and small taverns, and we just fell in love with it.
Incredible people. I love Croatia. I would go back.
Uh,
I had another trip planned with my sisters, actually. And when you were on that, I don't know if it was your first trip, but I actually communicated with you because you were seeing, we had done a trip similar, not, but you were cooking on your boat, weren't you? You were actually, you had a small boat. Were you captaining it yourself?
yeah, my husband's a sailor, so we rent anywhere from 32 to 52 feet boats. When it's him and us, or him and I, usually we do a 38 to 42-foot boat. That's about what we can handle, just the two of us. But when you're sailing, you always have to have 1 or 2 emergency meals. You might want to eat out every single day, and sometimes we do. But, weather-wise, you always need to have something available. And you make lunch on the boat or you make breakfast. So you always are doing a little bit of cooking, if not more.
So you took things that you loved. You took Croatia. You took a story about Croatia. Ves is the cookbook writer, which is interesting because Vis was one of my favorite places in the whole wide world.
That actually is one of our favorite places too.
What is it?
Vis.
The island of Vis in Croatia, and it's one of the places that Stephanie sailed to. And when I got on that island, because I knew it was where they filmed part 2 of Mamma Mia.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. And so you just felt like you wanted to start singing and running down the streets and
The whole church scene, and there's like a couple of palm trees. It's sort of at the end of this promenade, and so you can really see the whole vista of exactly where they were. And that's really when you sail, that's where you're moored, is right in that bay there.
yeah. Yeah, it's
Wow.
incredible. And walking across all the other ships to get to the docks is just, it's like an experience like no other that I've ever had. And I've not been to Greece, and I've really not done the water in Italy. So this was,
I would say you can do it in Italy too. The
Okay.
islands in Italy, Ponza, Procida, Capri is actually my least favorite.
I've been there and I agree with you.
It was too much. It was too trafficked. It was just everything about it was so much. But you get these beautiful islands in Italy. The food is amazing. You get these in Italy, there's people living still on these islands in these towns. So you get that sort of small town feel. I mean, Croatia, you sit down at a restaurant and there's likely only 8 tables, and the wine is from the island that you're on. The meal, if you're having protein, it's probably literally there's a goat tied up out back. If you're having fish, many times the chef or the person cooking the meal will go outside the door and reach down into the water and pull out their bag of mussels or oysters. Some of the world's best oysters come from Croatia. We were just like blown away at the culture, the people, the weather, the hospitality. We met a man on this first trip whose name was Dinko. He's a real man. And he was an archaeologist that was on another island called Bela Luka, and he's digging this cave that is very famous called the Big Cave all throughout Europe. And it's the oldest known cave dig, like known to man. So we're going back to like woolly mammoth times. And we met him in a restaurant with a friend in Croatia. He took us in like 10 o'clock at night, all through these ruins in Croatia on this island. He had the key and like unlocked the gates and took us through. And we just like on this one magical day, we had this most magical experience meeting this man, seeing all these ruins, really getting this sense of that Croatia is no different than Italy, no different than Turkey, no different than Athens. Like this, all of this country was traveled by Vikings and people on the spice trails, and the whole idea of food and culture, it just sort of keeps circling around this big area in the Mediterranean that I'm just in love with.
And was that when the idea for the book started, or when did
Yeah,
that come?
the first book my husband wrote is called The Barons, and he wrote that right as we sold our business. And that book is about a young woman who goes on a canoe trip in the Arctic, and something bad happens, and that's the whole premise of the book. And my daughter actually took that trip. She is a Widgie girl, which is a Y camp, and she's a canoeer.
Right?
Yeah,
Camp
Widgie Wagga.
Wagon.
Yep.
Uh,
They go on these very long canoe trips where it's just three girls and a camper and a counselor, and they don't see anybody for days. And she did this trip and she came back and went to college, and her and my husband would talk about it a lot and her experiences. And he kept telling her, you need to write this down. You need to write this down. She said, Dad, I'm in college. I'm like writing papers and I don't have time. So he said, well, I'm going to write the story. And he would call her and they would have all these conversations about the terrain, about what it was like. And he kind of saw this through her eyes and fictionalized it and put it in a story in a book. And he won the Minnesota Book Award. It was his very first book. And it was so beautiful and so well done and well written and all the things. The publishing business is kind of tragic, sort of hard, just like everything during COVID. It's changed so much. So he got really disheartened with publishing after that experience. The book was great, it sold well, but if you don't have a publisher that's behind you and you're not putting a ton of money into marketing, it's hard to get discovered. So the next couple of books he wrote, he just wanted to write for fun, just stories that he liked. And he lived in Las Vegas, he worked in nightclubs. So he's got kind of crazy, wild stories about Vegas and weird people, fun people doing different things. So he wrote a couple of those books. He wrote Las Vegas Turnaround, Rough Diamonds, which is a caper and a heist book based in Las Vegas. And then he wrote another book called The Outlaw Shuffle that's about people coming out of COVID that lived in an RV and just weird characters. He's really good at writing that. So after writing those three types of kind of high energy, weird, capery stories, he was like, I want to try something different. And we just started talking about our travels and about the idea of writing another fiction book, writing it from, again, the point of view of a woman, which is not easy to do. And I said, well, if you're going to write a book about Croatia, you have to include the food because it really tells the story and the fabric. And I said it should feel like a travelogue, like Eat, Pray, Love did, or like Water for Chocolate. I can think of a whole list of books that sort of bring you into the story through the experiences of food, which is sort of how I see my own life. And I don't know, I'm always thinking about food. I wake up in the morning and the first thing I'm thinking about is what I'm going to make that day or what we're going to eat.
There's the difference between you
Yeah.
two
Oh
and me.
my God. That has never, well, I think about what am I going to eat because I have to eat, right? And I do like eating, but not what am I going to make?
So
Yeah.
you're a writer, so you self-published, you worked with your husband.
Yeah, so he would write the fiction part
Yeah.
and he wrote the story. And then I would come back through, read the story, and match the recipe to it. And
Oh, cool.
originally in the first manuscript, the recipe had like head notes. Head notes is the part before the recipe that
Okay.
kind of describes what the recipe is going to be. And originally the head notes were in my voice, sort of like a Julie and Julia, where I'm reflecting on Bez as a character, but bringing my own voice into it. But we got some feedback early on from our friend Lori, actually, who's a first reader, that was confusing to her. She didn't understand that other voice. So he reworked it and took out those parts. And we just started using the recipes as more like a space holder. But you can feel the food throughout because the writer's a cookbook writer. And I was like, look, I can't write Croatian recipes. Like, I know enough because I've been there multiple times, but I don't want to culturally appropriate someone's heritage by pretending that, I know how to do grandma, what's her name's dish. So I said, she has to be a cookbook writer. She has to be from Minnesota so that that essence feels like me. And then I can do it because I'm not trying to be something I'm not.
And where does the adoption story come in? Does that pull from real life experience? Or
Yeah, he culturally and fictionalized and thought about how that story could work. He's a beautiful storyteller, and it really works. He likes historical fiction. He reads a lot about history. I'm not great in politics. I'm not great in war. I'm not great in historical wars. That was never my jam. So I was like trying to think. I was like, wait, there was a war here in the 90s? Like, and
yeah.
my husband was like, "Oh, yeah, I remember, like, Slobodan Milosevic and Bill Clinton," and I was like, "Yeah, I guess I do kinda remember that." And the guy was like, "Yeah, I was 18, I was in the war, and here's right over that bluff right there was where I was shooting and my rifles, and, this is what happened to my friends and my family," and I was like, "Wow, that's not something in our lifetime so far," and I say God willing, and I'd like to knock on some wood, that I have experienced or been through, and here was an entire country that went to war in the 90s, and we rarely talk about it or think about it. And here was this guy that his whole experience was shaped by that. So that story really stuck with both Kurt and I. And when the book came about and we started talking about it, we reflected on some of those experiences and conversations we had with the Croatian people. And that was how that story sort of came about.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. We had taken a trip to Croatia, our first trip, and we rented a home above, oh, for God's sakes, where's Game of Thrones was filmed and
Dubrovnik.
Dubrovnik, thank you, blanking on the town. So we rented this home. We rented from this man named Ivo. And Ivo was in the war.
Yeah.
And he and his wife lived down in a village below and had this beautiful home. And Ivo cooked a meal for us. And it was the wine from his vineyard. It was olive oil from his olives on the olive trees, but he took us on a hike. We hiked from the home down to the village, and he was telling us all about the war. And it was like you were feeling it differently. And I thought the same thing. I thought, I didn't pay attention to this. I didn't pay attention to the world, really, because you're busy raising kids and doing all that. And the 90s was right in the throes of it. And what that country has done to recover from that
Mhm.
is really quite astounding. There's a beach called Kapari Beach. Did you ever go there?
Yeah.
We could spend hours talking about Kapari Beach, but that was really part of the war back way earlier where that was bombed out and has been sitting that way forever. But it's the most bucolic beach with all these bombed out structures. The original building was built in the 20s, I think, for the military as an R&R. And then in the 70s, the other buildings were put up by the Russians. And then it was all bombed out in that war. And this beach sits there and you wonder what's going to happen. But the rest of the country goes on just living so beautifully.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even if you think back to ancient times, the Greeks and the Romans, I mean, all those ruins are still there. I
Yeah.
just got back from Turkey, so, there you are, you're in Turkey, and every 90 miles are these communities that they're unearthing that are Christian, Roman, Muslim, Jewish settlements, like, and it's crazy to think like, wow, 2000 years ago, this all was happening. Here's the church, here's the Colosseum that seats 20,000 people that all lived right where I'm walking. I just really feel fortunate that all of the travel I've done has really given me this perspective of how small we are
Mhm.
in the historical context of it. And it comforts me sometimes when things are really bad and I feel like the world just is so crazy. I just kind of think like, well, this has been going on long before me. It'll be going on long after me. And it gives me a little bit of pause and allows me to put the events of the day into context.
What a beautiful way to look at it. Lisa.
So you travel a lot, as we've been talking about. When you're traveling, do you think in terms when you're eating the food or where your places like, do you think of like recipes or different flavors that maybe you hadn't thought that you could put together? Like, does that happen to you while you're traveling? Or do you kind of put that aside if you're on vacation?
I don't know how to separate this food life from my real life. So I never really am on vacation. I'm always thinking about content for shows, things that I'm seeing, being immersive experiences I'm in. But like, I'm not actively necessarily working. I might make notes on something. Like, we just went to Turkey, and every time we sat down, there would always be some kind of a yogurt, hummus typically, grilled olives, and then there was this other thing that was like a salsa sometimes, but other times it was like a pico de gallo, and it was tomatoes and mint and also roasted red pepper, and it just kept appearing in different places, but always on the table. And as we moved through the country, it looked a little different. But I finally asked our guide, I was like, "What is this?" And he was like, "Oh, it's esme." And they call it different things, but when we got home right away, I was like, "I gotta make this esme because I loved it so much."
Can I have the recipe, please?
It's on my website, stephaniesdish.com. It was the first thing I made when I got home. Yes.
Well, we found our own like favorite tastes, as long as it's that spicy, like that tomato with the mint and the roasted, all of it.
In Turkey, they roast the peppers and they make a paste. What we do here, or what I did, is to simplify it, I just use like a double tomato paste, so more concentrate. And then I use harissa, which instead of roasting peppers and mashing and making, I just use harissa to give it that context. So mine's a little different, but
Also
it
takes
scratched the
less
itch.
time. It
Yeah.
takes less time to do. Everyone else is busy. People have busy lives. So I think that's one of the beautiful things too, that you're doing is you're making things a little bit more relatable and a little bit easier. Why does it feel like you're doing more, not less? Maybe from the outside looking in, it feels like you're really reaching your stride in this beautiful way. Is it a choice or does that happen when you're like waiting for permission to do things? When you stop waiting?
I'm not sure. And I sometimes want to be more intentional. Here's the thing. I don't know how to be still. I really have never had a medium speed. I am a two-speed person. And my husband will tell you I'm either on, which is 100%, or I'm horizontal and off. Like,
That's me.
yeah, like, and I will just
There
go
is
and
no
go.
in between middle.
And when I'm going, like, and all of a sudden I hit the horizontal stage, that might be a day, that might be 2 days, or it might just be 3 hours of I just need to lay here and just deprogram for a second. I do a lot of work that's external. So I'm like, it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of momentum, it's a lot of adrenaline, it's a lot of performing. And that does require time to recharge. I wish I had a medium speed. I kind of think sometimes like, well, maybe you should just go on vacation and check out. Like, I don't really know how to do that. I work for myself. I'm always thinking about what my work is and how it shapes me, and it's just become how I do things.
But it also feels like you're chasing the joy of it. You're not chasing a dollar, you're chasing the experience, you're chasing it's a passion. So it's really not work for you.
Like, even if you're
Yes.
an
Yep.
artist.
Yep.
And one of the things I've learned about myself is I'm not motivated by money at all. But what I am motivated by is significance. I want you to think I'm something. When I tell you that you need to go and eat at Jones in the Park because I think what they're doing is tremendous, I want you to just like go, oh, okay, well, Stephanie said that, therefore she knows, therefore that's what I should do. I really want people around me to think I know what I'm talking about and that my work has value. I'm a great vice president. I love a president to like, I will do all of the work as long as you acknowledge that I'm here with you. I will help support you. But that usually the way that you get compensated for those skills is through money. So It's not the monetary value of what I make, but it is a way to show that I'm significant to you. So if you ask me to do all kinds of things and you don't pay me, I don't see that you see my value or my worth. And for you to see my worth is very important to me. So I've learned that that worth can be varying. If you're a small company and you don't have a lot of money and you're really into me and you want to do something with me, chances are we'll figure something out because you see my worth, you see how I can help you, and I want to help you. I love helping small businesses. I love entrepreneurship. So chances are we'll figure something out. But if you're like a big company and you're telling me like, we don't have budget for this, we don't have budget for that, like, I'm like, well, I'm not free. So, this isn't going to happen then. This isn't a good marriage. You have to see the value I bring to you. So I've learned that over time. The first year I was doing my food business, I mean, I think I went from making a couple $100,000 a year to $32,000. But it was fun and it was all in my control. I didn't have to ask anybody for permission. I got done and I did my taxes and I spent more than I made on going out to eat and food and all the things. But I had a good time and I was like, okay, well, this is a good benchmark. Every year I literally plot this endeavor cost this much and I made this much. Podcasting, always costing, never earning. So like I have all the silos and I look at them and go, okay, that one didn't make me any money, but I got a lot of joy doing it. Or it fed the next thing that actually did make me some money. Like I'm pretty intentional about what I'm doing. And I also really strongly believe in putting things out into the universe. Because I think when you say and speak something into existence, the world has a way of aligning either in your brain or externally to making things happen. So that's how the TV show, I can tell you exactly, on July 17th of 2016, I said out loud to my husband, I want to be kind of famous. Not really famous, not like Angelina Jolie famous, but like Minnesota famous and maybe 5-state area famous, where again, if I say this is the best salsa, you are like, okay, well, Stephanie said it's the best salsa. I'm going to try this salsa. Like, that's good enough for me. Not, Ina Garten famous, but, and I wrote it down and we do goal setting and it was there. So I can look back on that and be like, wow, I think I'm kind of famous at this point. I think I did it.
So Katie's smiling and laughing and all of this. Does this kind of sound like someone you know?
It does, but I want to take a moment and just thank you for the lesson
Yeah.
and knowing worth and how to frame that
Say
in
it out loud.
such a beautiful way, and especially in the value as it comes to who you're working with. And truly, if I take nothing away from this and this opportunity to meet you, that
Extraordinary.
literally got me in the heart.
Oh,
But
it's taken so long to learn it.
so interesting is that as I'm listening to you, how you do it and how you see it is very similar to me. But well, it's not similar. It is me. But I couldn't say that out loud. Like we've
No,
had this podcast for 6 years.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. At the beginning of every year, I take 3 Post-it notes and I write goals for my personal business, our podcast, and my personal life. And I write 4 things down of each. And I keep them in my wallet and I look at them at least once or twice a week. And at the end of the year, I pretty much have hit most of them. Maybe a couple I haven't because I do reach goals. I do. And it's not all monetary.
No, very few of them are.
If you love what you do, it isn't really work, but you can get exhausted.
Mhm.
I mean, when I'm going next week and I shop in Chicago for over 30 clients, right? I'm exhausted. But do I love what I'm doing? Absolutely. Right? And every year I learn something on how to do it different, right? Same as you.
And that's the beauty is you're constantly learning. I love the significance piece that really that resonated as well.
You nailed it. You
Yeah.
absolutely nailed it. And thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, we sold our business. Has it been, I think it's been 5 or 10 years. It's been 10 years. No, it's only been 5. No, it's been 10. Yes, but it's gone so fast. Like, part of this awareness has come through reflection of being in corporate America and not being wanted in some respects. Like, I worked at places where I was like, hey, I should do a food show about food. And they were like, thanks, but no thanks. Or, well, you can do stuff for us, but we don't have any money to pay you. And I was like, well, then that's not really a job. So no thanks. You know, for all the times that people said no around me and I kept saying yes for myself, you eventually find people that are like, oh yeah, if she thinks she can do this, she can probably do this. And you align yourself then with the right people. And it's pretty gratifying sometimes to look back and people are like, wow, I can't believe you built this. I can't believe you made this. Are you even a chef? I'm like, no.
I love that. So, so we're gonna, at some point we have to come to an end, and I'm very sad about that. So hopefully it'll be the end
I
of a
can come back
podcast.
another day.
Well, hopefully it's the end of the podcast. Maybe not the end of conversations. I hope we can have those. What does the view in your head expectations of maybe
Oh
10 years
boy.
ago?
Yeah, I did not expect that the show that we're doing, Taste Buds with Stephanie, that it would be airing in 92 markets around the country. That is unexpected. And that I get to be the person that helps you discover the greatness of the Midwest, the Twin Cities, the chefs, the salsa makers, the people within our midst that are doing such incredible work. And somehow I get to be in their air and help you be the conduit to discovery of these amazing people is not expected and tremendous. And I'm so full of gratitude for the opportunity. But I'm also like, okay, well, the TV business is changing, right? Just like radio changed, just like podcasts, just like the newspaper business, direct mail, everything I've done, I like got in while the going was good and then it changed. And this is happening too with television. So, you know, it used to be that TV was like you arrived. It was, well, now it's sort of a place on the spectrum of arriving, but people don't need networks anymore. They don't need television stations. They can produce their own content. They can be celebrities on YouTube. So the goalpost is always moving about what that looks like. So I'm enjoying the ride, knowing that it will eventually come to some end, right? I didn't expect that this all would be happening to me at middle age. I thought it probably would have happened sooner. So that's also funny to be looking at yourself aging on television and, you know, a new wrinkle here, a little fat deposit there, how you look in your clothes. I mean, all of that is just like, wow, I did not expect that this would be where I would be, but it's been a blast. I'm just trying to be intentional about being here while I can and doing good work, doing work I feel good about. I'm pretty fortunate. I have done lots of careers. I've had a lot of success. If this career too shall pass, then I'll probably find another one.
Okay, what would you tell the woman who feels like she's missed her window?
The same thing I would tell the 20-year-old. And it has been my mantra of life. I've mentored a lot of people, and I have always said this, and it has served me so well, and that is fake it till you make it. Because nobody knows what they're doing. I mean, I hope your husband does because he's a doctor and an
Yeah.
orthopedic, but for the most part, people don't really know what they're doing. They're not doing it any better than you're doing it. Their opportunities might look different or their funding might look different, but you just have to keep going and believe in yourself even when you don't. Because if you don't, no one else is going to.
And I see that time and time again with all the women I help who are extremely successful in their careers. They all feel exactly like that.
And I think women like really need to remind ourselves that nobody else is doing it any better than you're doing it. They're just doing it.
They're just doing it.
So
They're
Yes.
just
put
doing
the
it.
steps, start walking, start the walk, start whatever it is, the thing that you want to do, you have to just start doing it and start being in the space.
I think women wear more hats than men do.
Oh, of course. I think it
That-
gets like diluted and like scattered.
Yeah, because yes, and I do help quite a few men, and I have to help them very differently than I help women. And I know that. And so I just think that women can wear 5 hats, a man can maybe wear 2.
And it's good probably in the big like evolutionary picture
Yeah,
that we're
yeah, I'm
not the
not
same,
saying
right?
it's good or bad, but it is what it is.
It's reality. Well, I want to end on this note because we do a nonprofit spotlight. And for somebody whose life is built around food and joy, what does it mean to bring to the other side of the equation? Every Meal is the organization, everymeal.org, that you have brought forward. And I had the honor to meet Lindsay Torkelson at the event we were at for hunger-related events. And tell me what that organization means to you.
I always champion food causes because I think if you don't have food security, your life just looks so different. So I always try to champion ways that we can stop food insecurity. And a lot of that comes with kids, moms, families, because typically they're the ones providing the meals. That there's an organization that's based out of Roseville that started thinking about what happens when kids leave school and what kind of meals are they getting at home, and is there any stigma for them going to a food shelf, and that this organization started just putting food in kids' bags and making it so that they could bring it home. Then they started into like doing backpacks. Then like they've just grown and grown and grown. And now they're serving like 22,000 kids throughout the state of Minnesota, very unassumingly, just putting food into their bags so that when they go home on the weekends or they go home in the evenings, they are contributing more to the pantry of what they have at home. I love just the simplicity of that. They're just making sure that you have access to food at home.
And
It's important to me.
that is, yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Everymeal.org for more information on that organization. How do people get more information on you, Stephanie?
Oh, I'm everywhere. Stephanie's Dish is my handle on Facebook, on Instagram, on the dreaded TikTok. My website is stephaniesdish.com. My TV show is Taste Buds with Stephanie. And all of the recipes that we do on that show, you can find at stephaniesdish.com. And yeah, the funny thing is people reach out to me a lot. I respond to everything. I enjoy hearing about recipe wins, recipe fails. Lisa, people will ask me like, I'm going to brunch for Mother's Day with 10 people, 2 of which that can't hear and 1 of which is coming from Stillwater. Can you help us find a place to go? I get emails like that all the time, and I find
Oh
places
my
for
God.
people. I'm like your personal concierge.
Okay, we got to talk about personal concierge on the messages I get from my clients.
Yes.
That actually would be very cute. Like the text message, Katie knows, like the crazy text messages I get about bras, underwear, God knows what.
Hilarious.
It's just a different thing.
I love it.
Okay, if the next chapter of your life were a recipe, what would it be called?
If the next chapter of my life were a recipe, what would it be called? Ambrosia salad.
Oh, okay. What is it?
It's weird. It's canned pineapple, which is a little weird. It's marshmallows. I just had it with boba, which was kind of a modern twist on it. It has coconut flakes. It's just like all of these vintage things, new things kind of coming together in a new way. And I just had it the other day and I thought, well, this is like taking something so old and making it new and making it delicious in a way that's completely unexpected. And that's sort of how I feel like my life is right now.
Thank you.
Let's leave that. That's perfect.
That's a perfect ending. Thank you for showing your beautiful self in the mirror of life. We appreciate you so much. We've got all your information for more.
Make sure you get Moon Tavern.
Oh, yes, Moon
And if
Tavern.
you read it, leave a review, because for independent publishers and self-publishers, getting reviewed is really important because bookstores look to see if you have reviews before they order it. So
Oh, awesome. Okay, good to know. See, all these things we're learning. That's it.
yeah,
Hey.
we'll come back and talk self-publishing another day because there's a lot to learn there.
Okay, lessons from Stephanie. Maybe that's the next, until next time.